Hey everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I am reading Christmas thriller and horror books. So I actually already finished all the books for this reading vlog, but I wanted to come and introduce it. For this reading vlog, I read Disco Death Trap, which is more of a New Year's Eve horror book, but I still wanted to read it. I also read Krampus for horror, Candy Cane Kills, and Snowball. And then for thrillers, I read Dying for Christmas, The Christmas Guest, and Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. So we are going to just hop straight into the very first book. So the first book I'm reading for this reading vlog is Disco Death Trap by Cameron Rubik. And this one is about a group of high school students that are all going to be staying at this roller rink to bring in the new year. They are doing a lock-in with two of their teachers are coming with them, and they plan the whole thing, and they're just going to be doing this lock-in to celebrate the new year at this roller rink in the 80s. Everybody kind of has different things they want to do that night. They're all teenagers, so some of them want to flirt and get over exes. Some of them want to pull pranks. Some of them are high school sweethearts. They're all kind of doing different things. And so we get all different perspectives throughout this story. And while they're locked in, there's actually a blizzard going on outside that's basically piling ice up and snow just up. And so basically they're trapped there, but they don't even know that yet. And there is a homeless man that is in the parking lot, and he says that this is going to be the year of blood. There's also a weird figure that is seen in a cemetery that is right next door, because the roller rink was actually built on part of the cemetery as well, and one of the employees saw this weird figure. So I'm about 50% in, and the slashing has begun. I would say around the first 30 to 40% of the stories kind of build up, where we're getting to know some of the characters, and we're kind of following some of the employees as well as they're setting up the roller rink, and then as the students are migrating to the roller rink, and then as they are, getting their skates on, skating around, what they're doing in the beginning of the night and everything like that. And then once midnight strikes, the murdering begins, and there is a figure that is masked that's going around killing everybody, and in the matter of minutes, almost everybody is dead. And now we're following some characters as they're hiding away, and I'm really enjoying this one so far. I love the 80s vibes. It's not too over the top, but it's definitely there, especially with the roller rink, and it's referencing music. And just I used to have a roller rink that I went to when I was in middle school. I would say there's definitely a time period in my life where I was going there once a week, every couple weeks for a while, and it was such a simple time, and I feel a lot of people will never have that again. It was definitely something that was super fun and interesting that I got to do, and I even went to roller skating camp one year. So I just loved the roller skating atmosphere and the vibe, and it's so phenomenal. And now everybody's getting killed, and I'm really curious as to who this killer is, what's their motivation. That's what I'm really interested in. Why is this going on, what's happening? But I'm also really enjoying the fun slashing of it all, and I think that the author has an amazing writing style that's definitely super easy and readable, but it's also super descriptive with the environment and what's going on. So I'm really enjoying the descriptions, but then also the simpleness of the writing is really making it easy to read. So far I'm having a really good time reading this one, and I can't wait to finish it. So I ended up finishing Disco Death Trap by Cameron Rubik, who I didn't even know this was the guy who wrote Kill River, but I do really want to read that series as well. But I really like this one a lot. I'm giving it 4 stars. It's such a fun slasher. I love the reveal at the end who was the killer. It made so much sense, and I just really enjoyed that plot twist, because it definitely was a twist. I didn't see it coming, and I was like, as I described earlier, I was really curious about who the killer was, and that was like a big part of the plot for me, is Cameron was able to really make it so I was very much interested in who the killer was, because I was like, why would someone be doing this? Like, what's their motivation? All of this stuff. And Cameron was able to make it make sense, and it had a lot of payoff in the end, and I really enjoyed the writing, the slashing. I do wish we had a slight bit more character development. That's what would have made it a 5-star for me. I know it's a slasher, but some of my favorite slashers, or my very favorite slasher that I read, Cirque Berserk, has a lot of character development. We're spending a lot of time with our characters, and that is the reason that I love that book so much. And this one does have some main characters that we're following, that we're kind of rooting for, but it's not the same level as it was in that book. And so if it had kind of some more character development, maybe a little bit more like grit to it, then it would have gotten a higher rating from me. But I still think that this is a fun slasher. I absolutely had such a good time reading it. It's such a fun time, especially if you're looking for something for New Year's Eve. It's not Christmassy in any way because it takes place after Christmas, but I still wanted to include it in this vlog, even though it's kind of like a New Year's Eve book. But I had such a good time reading this. Okay, for my next book, I started Krampus the Yule Lord by Brom. I was really excited to pick this up because I love Slewfoot by Brom earlier this year. It's one of my favorite books of the year, so I wanted to pick this one up because, it's in the season. So we follow our main character, Jesse, and he is a struggling songwriter. He doesn't make much money, and he's like fighting for his life because he has a kid with this woman that used to be his wife, but they are like separated. They're not divorced, but they're separated, and there is another man that is trying to like infiltrate their marriage while they're separated. And he's just fighting. And so one day he sees like these, what is it described as? 7 devilish figures chasing a man in a red suit towards a sleigh and 8 reindeer. And when the reindeer leap skyward, taking the sleigh, devil, man, and Santa into the clouds, screams follow. Moments later, a large sack plummets down to the earth, which is a magical sack that thrusts the down-on-his-luck singer into the clutches of the terrifying Yule Lord Krampus. Because this sack actually used to be Krampus's. Well, okay, it was Loki's, I think. This has a lot of mythology in it about gods, like Santa is not even actually Santa. He goes by a different name. Baldir, I think is how you say it. Baldir. I'm listening to the audiobook, but I still never know how to pronounce things myself. So he's actually Baldir, and it pretends to be like Saint Nicholas or whatever, and Santa, and he's actually kind of like evil. And Krampus is the descendant of Loki, and he had this sack, and then it was taken, and I think Krampus was actually locked up by Santa and like was in his cell. And then even though Santa preached about all these Christian values and like all these good things, he was actually getting involved in like spell work and magic and the opposite of what he was preaching. And now Krampus is like loose, and he has the sack, and he wants to take down Santa, and the sack was in Jesse's possession. So now he's kind of wrapped up with Krampus because Krampus's little lackeys like went after to get the sack, and so was Santa also trying to get the sack, and like he got wrapped up in this, and he is kind of on his own mission as well because there's some evil stuff going on in this town with the sheriff and like this man that's trying to infiltrate his marriage and like basically like harming his child. There's a lot of stuff going on with that, so he needs to like fight for his child as well. And so this is a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that are going on. It's much faster paced than Slewfoot was. Slewfoot was a much slower story. This one is much faster paced, but it is quite long. So I do feel like even though it's faster paced, it's dragging, and I'm not enjoying it as much because it has like this mythology and stuff in it, but I feel like it's not being explained super well. And I'm enjoying that idea, but in execution, I'm not enjoying it as much as I anticipated I would. And I didn't expect there to be stuff like that in this at all. I had no idea. So I think my expectations are just a little different than what I was anticipating this book would be. I'm about 50% of the way in. I'm on chapter 10, and this does have illustrations in it at the beginning of each chapter. Let me just move this. It has little illustrations at the beginning of each chapter, and then it does have illustrations for each of the different main characters. So sorry, there's like a glare, but there's Krampus, and Jesse is right here, and Isabel is one of Krampus's little lackeys. And guys, look at Santa Claus. Santa is buff. Okay, Santa is big. Baldier, he's big. That's a big man. Or God, or whatever he is. But whatever he is massive. And there's some other characters in here, but I don't feel as connected to this story as I did Slewfoot. And I know I shouldn't be comparing the two works, but I think it's because this one is following a man and mostly like masculine characters. I honestly feel like it was a very much good for her story in Slewfoot, which is surprising because it's written by a man, but I feel like the woman perspective was done very, very well in that story, and I was able to connect to the story and enjoy it a lot more. This one I'm not connecting to because Jesse is just like not my type of character. I'm not saying that he's a bad character, like he's not morally gray or evil or anything like that necessarily, and he's also not necessarily good. He's just like a person that exists, but like he's just not my type of character that I resonate with. And not that I have to resonate with every single character to like a story, but it's just kind of putting a distance between me and the actual story itself. But I am enjoying the content related to him and his child and how he really cares about his kid. I'm really enjoying that, and I am enjoying learning about the lore of this world, even though I feel like it's not being explained as well as I would like. So right now I think I'm sitting around like a 3.5 star for this one, but it could always change. It could go down, it could go up, it could stay the same as I continue on in the story. Like I think it's definitely a good read, but it is like a little long. It doesn't have the best explanation, but I'm excited to continue. I'm definitely not gonna like DNF or anything. So I ended up finishing Krampus by Brahm, and this one I'm gonna give 3 stars. I think that this one is a good holiday book if that's what you're looking for. It definitely had a lot of horror but a lot of holiday vibes. I enjoyed the lore background that this story had. I thought it was really interesting, but at the same time I feel like it kind of bogged the story down just the way that it was told. It felt like it wasn't explained enough, but also was info dumpy at the same time, which wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed that, the fact that it had it and it went in that direction. I really did not relate to the characters in this story at all, which I don't think you always have to relate to the characters to enjoy their characterization and enjoy the story, but I'm a very character driven reader, so even if I don't relate to the characters, I like to enjoy the characters. And in this, I didn't really enjoy like the human main characters. I did enjoy Krampus and Santa Claus and their whole dichotomy and their rivalry, I guess you could call it. I enjoyed that, but I do feel like this book went on too long. Similar to Slewfoot, there is kind of a main plot, and then we kind of just see the de-evolution, I guess you could call it, of what happens after the main climax of the story. We see a lot of stuff happening afterwards, and I really enjoyed that in Slewfoot because it was kind of like a good for her story. We saw a lot of destruction and stuff like that, and this one I felt like it just went on too long, and it wasn't necessarily my favorite because it felt like the story was just kind of dragging on past the point of where it should have ended. I think if you're looking for a holiday horror book, this one is a good one. It's just a little long, so make sure that you are strapped in for a pretty long book that may have some info dumpy parts. You may not understand everything fully, but it's still kind of an enjoyable ride. So I read The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson. It was really short, so I just read it in one little sitting. It is a novella. It's about 3 hours on audio, and I'm giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one, surprisingly. It follows a woman, and she is like an art student studying in London, I believe an art student, and she has nowhere to go for Christmas, but she is actually from America, so she gets invited by a fellow student to come with her family for Christmas out in England, and there may be some dark, sinister secrets hiding in this town and in this manor and in this family. And I love this one so much. I can't really talk about why I loved it so much because it's definitely spoilery, but let's just say there may or may not be kind of some murdering, some murder mysterying, and I really enjoyed the entire context around this. I thought it was done extremely well, and I just enjoyed the writing. I could definitely see this being read by a cozy fireplace at night while it's snowing outside. Like, those are the vibes. It's kind of like a traditional murder mystery with a little bit more darkness to it, and I love that so much about it. Peter Swanson actually had a little bit at the end where he was talking about where he got the inspiration for this story, and that's kind of like what he imagines it as. That's kind of like what he imagines someone reading it doing, just like cozy up by the fireplace during Christmas. And I thought this was so good. And if you're looking for like a short little novella that is like a little like murder mystery thriller, this one would definitely be such a good one to try out just to read in one quick little sitting during a cold December evening. And so I don't know which book I'm going to start next, but it's going to be one of the thrillers that I have on my list. But I'm thinking about going to a local boba shop while I do some work for my remote job. I thought that would be kind of fun because I go on duty at 5. It's only 12 now, so maybe like I can, you know, get in a little bit of work and go outside a little bit before I have to be on duty, just get some fresh air. And I wanted to show y'all my sweatshirt my mom got me to Slashing Through the Snow. It has these classic horror characters on it wearing little Santa hats, and I love this little sweatshirt so much. So I'm a bit grateful that my mom got it for me because I love this sweatshirt and I'm going to be living in it until Christmas. So I thought I would come out here for an update. It's a little echoey, but we have like the little Christmas tree in the background. So, you know, I thought I would spice it up. I am about halfway done with Dying for Christmas now, and this book is reading okay so far. I'm enjoying it, but I've heard the second half is not nearly as good as the first half, and the first half has been like a 3.5 for me, so we'll see how I enjoy the second half. I heard that the main character gets extremely dumb, but she's already been kind of dumb. So we follow this woman, and she's out shopping, you know, whatever, and this man like basically starts like talking to her, whatever, and he's like, come back with me, like come with me and we can like go do something fun. And so she agrees because she's being dumb, and she even like has her phone and is gonna text somebody like, hey, I'm with this guy, this is his name, like this is his information, his details, whatever. And then she literally, instead of sending the message, she deletes the message. Like, girl. Okay, so then they get back to his place of residence and he kidnaps her. So she's now being held hostage because he basically kind of wants some company for Christmas, but then also he wants to be like fully seen by somebody. So he's gonna like force her to see him, and every single day up into the 12 days of Christmas, he's giving her a gift. So like he kidnapped her Christmas Eve and is starting the 12 days of Christmas on Christmas, because the 12 days of Christmas are the 12 days after Christmas. I think Christmas and after. So he's giving her a gift for the 12 days of Christmas, and they have so far been pretty tame and mild, but I think the last gift she thinks is going to be like him murdering her. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. As I said, it's been pretty okay so far. We've been seeing her like as she's being kidnapped by this man, but then we've also been seeing her family and like how her family's dealing with it, because she has like disappeared in the past before and kind of has like weird things in the past where she used to have like imaginary friends, and I thought that was kind of strange. And she's not like schizophrenic, they are saying this, but she's just like a little off and a little weird, especially for somebody of her age. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, but not a ton has happened. That's why it's like a 3.5, because it's interesting seeing this woman get kidnapped or whatever, and like seeing her interact with this man. It hasn't been like super heart racing or like thrilling or anything like that. It's just been like pretty okay so far. So I'm going to try and finish this one up today because I'm trying to finish a book a day. So I ended up finishing Dying for Christmas, and unfortunately I'm giving this one 2 stars. I just felt like the author was trying to do a lot in the second half of the plot, and I did not care at all. I don't know, like I cared about the plot that was described in the synopsis and what was going on in the first half, and in the second half I feel like it went off the rails in a direction that I didn't enjoy, and I really just truly did not care. So I was bored. I felt like it was a snooze fest because I was like, who cares about this going on? Literally nobody, not I. And yeah, just overall it was kind of like a 2-star read. The beginning part was interesting, but it wasn't interesting enough for me to justify you picking this up. I would not particularly recommend you picking this up. I would recommend picking up something else Christmassy instead. Even Krampus I would recommend. This one I would not recommend. It just really was not worth it to me. I feel like there's much better Christmassy things that we could be reading out here than this book. So yeah, that's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. So now I think I'm gonna go with a novella and try and read a novella tonight as well. So we'll see. I thought since I was already set up here to film a couple videos that I would talk about the 2 novellas that I read last night. So I read Snowball, and this one is a little short novella, both of these are, about a haunted evil elf on the shelf, and basically a family decides to get Snowball from the thrift store, this little elf on the shelf, and have him for their 2 children this year. Both their children are really small, like maybe 2 and 4 or 5. So this one I gave 3.5 stars. It was actually like really fun, and I wasn't anticipating that. So if you're looking for like a really short, just like novella that is going to be very Christmassy and good for the holiday season with a little evil murderous elf on the shelf, I would definitely recommend this one. I can't talk too much about it because I feel like it would spoil anything that I have to say, but I will say that there was some animal cruelty that happened throughout this book as well, so I would be careful of that, but that was like extremely horrific, and it was just like a really fun, short, cute little time. And then the second little novella that I read was called Candy Cane Kills, and this one was super fun. I'm giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and it had a lot of representation with relating to being queer, specifically for like being a man, which we don't see many queer male characters, and I don't know if this is own voices or not, but I really enjoyed that representation. And then also we had some disability representation, which I also really enjoyed. I felt like they're both done pretty well for being in such a short little novella. We follow a family, a mom and a dad with 2 children. One of them is a teenager and one of them is like bordering on the cusp of like 12 maybe. And they end up going to like this little house cabin for Christmas in this small little town. And little do they know, there was actually a massacre that happened earlier in that house that was kind of covered up because there was a fire afterwards, so they just like never talked about the actual death of these people and how they actually died. Everybody just assumed it was by the fire, but there is this kind of rumor that happened that maybe there wasn't just a fire and they were killed by this person called Candy Cane, spelled C-A-I-N. And we find out about Candy Cane, and this is actually like an evil child / creepy children book, and I was not anticipating that at all, and I absolutely loved it. And this is in a VHS tape series, and so a lot of what we find out is from actually a camcorder, which I also really enjoyed that element throughout the story. And this one was super graphic and gory, and I just loved that so much. And there was also a lot of family dynamics throughout this story that I thought were done super well. I enjoyed those family dynamics so much, and just seeing this family, and like the parents are on the brink of divorce, but we kind of see them come back together and how they actually do really love each other. And I thought that was just done so well, even though I've never had my parents on the brink of divorce, but I loved seeing that throughout the story. I thought that representation was done super well, and I just really enjoyed this one so much, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for kind of like a creepy children's slasher Christmas little novella. You'll definitely enjoy this one a lot. Next up, I'm going to be reading Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. This one is actually pretty short. It's only 6 hours on audio, but I'm really excited for this one because I've heard some people say that it's on their favorites of the year. So I'm coming to finish off this vlog because I read my last book which was Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. This one was pretty short. It was only 6 hours on audio, and this one I'm giving 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. We follow a woman who runs a little bookstore in a small little town, and she had a very traumatic event happen to her where she was almost killed, or she was left for dead basically by this man who also killed her best friend and is suspected to be involved in the disappearance of 2 other girls from the same night who our main character is also friends with. And she kind of just wants to move on from this, for the most part has, but then a journalist comes in to her shop where she works, and he is a true crime podcaster and novelist, and so he is trying to dig up what has happened because 3 other girls have also gone missing recently in the past decade. So he's trying to figure out if the person who is convicted of the killing and basically like assault slash almost killing of our main character actually was the one who was the perpetrator of these crimes or not, because since he's been in jail, as I said, 3 other girls have gone missing, so they're kind of unsure, and he's trying to just like dig up whatever is going on. And I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really well written. I enjoyed the characterization a lot, and I enjoyed the twist at the end. I did not see it coming, actually, so I thought it was really well done. It was just really short, but I would really love more short little thrillers like this. I think that this is like a perfect length thriller, and I would really enjoy it if more books were like this short, especially like little Christmas horror novellas or thriller ones would be really amazing. I think that we actually need more Christmas thrillers. There's more horror than there are thrillers, and I think we need more of them. And this one is definitely a good one, but I will say that it's not very Christmassy at all. It just takes place around Christmas time, but like you don't even get many vibes of Christmas or anything like that. So I wouldn't say that this is like a super Christmassy one if that's what you're looking for, but it's still a really good thriller that takes place in kind of like a wintry setting, so I would still recommend it if that's what you're looking for. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for this reading vlog. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it to the end, leave a little Christmas tree down below, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye everybody!